Yo, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Mindsmiths podcast. Hope everyone's having a good week. Hope everyone's having a good month. I know this episode came out a little bit later than usual. Usually I had everything planned out a little bit sooner, but just a few other things happened and with schedule and all that. So altogether, I'm just hoping that everyone can enjoy this video because overall, this is a really special video that I have planned for everything. I've been planning this in one in mind for a while. It was all about just trying to get the time for it and putting out everything in place, you know. So we've had one or two special videos like this before in the past, if you don't remember. One was about overall mental health. I think the other one was about dealing with different things in general and how to like process that growth over in life. So then with this one, in lieu with all the past videos we've had, this is all about relationships. Not just relationships, but the high tier of relationships, marital life, and the goal to get there. So, especially if you have a girl, boyfriend, however it may be, this is definitely a video that I feel like might be for y'all and whatever situation you're going through. So as per usual, I am the host Cam, and who am I here with?
Hey everybody, I am Rosemary Winbush. Hey, this is an interesting story to tell you. Years ago, I was Cameron's children's pastor. So he's brought us in to do this. So my background is really all about building better lives. I'm known as SALT, SALT, which is speaker, author, leader, and trainer. I'm always excited about helping people in their path to destiny. We always say we're destiny helpers. So that's a little bit about me, but came out of corporate, did ministry for a long time. Now we're into our own businesses, which is two companies actually. One is Kairos International, which we've had about 26 years. And the other one is WRW International, which is our corporate company where we do speaking and training. And I'm also a Florida realtor and a Florida notary. So I love doing podcasts and especially being on with this host today. So we're excited about the time we're going to spend together.
Yes, and I'm Wyman Winbush. I'm also excited to be here. By the way, background, I am 30-year retired from the Navy Reserves. I retired as a captain in the Navy. As a reservist, I was also working with IBM. So I have 31 years with IBM in tech sales. I've been a professional speaker for since about 95, 97 or so, speaking and training. Right now, I'm doing some executive coaching as well as training in peak performance, high performance mindset, and that type of thing.
And guess what, you guys? We forgot to say this. We've been married for 36 years.
Yes.
That's a real long time. So
yeah, it's a long time.
Mm-hmm. So, as per usual, get your popcorn, keep your feet back, get your mama, your daddy, your uncle, aunt, brother, sister, or especially for this video, your girlfriend or your boyfriend or fiance, whoever it may be. And let's get back and let's go start the video. So, first of all, I want to say, so you both been married for how long again? How many years?
36 years this past February. So we just had an anniversary.
Okay, that's amazing. That's amazing then. So like 36 years. So like I'll say before I get into the questions then, what is the experience like kind of having, do you ever have those moments of realization where it's like, wow, we've been like together, I've been with this one person for like 36 years. Not something that a lot of people can always say really.
Yeah, I was reflecting on that the other day and thinking that we have been married. I spent more time with Rosemary in marriage than I have without, and so that's quite a milestone, if you would. But the years have gone by so fast because the more you do with children, things, work in the community, it's kind of like when you're busy, it seems like where did the time go? And so it doesn't seem like it's been a fast 36 years, if you can imagine that.
Right. And I would always say this too, when you've been with someone for any length of time, when the time doesn't seem like it's the time of 36 years, it seems like it was just yesterday we got married. So that means we're enjoying the journey together. And when you can enjoy the journey together, you become better people as you're together. Because when we got married, listen, we're better together now than we were when we got married the first time, right? Around the first time. So it's all been a good 36 years.
Yeah, it's been a great 36 years. If you think about it, you always hear the adage, time flies when you're having fun. Well, your marriage ought to be fun. your relationship with people, significant others, ought to be fun. And if you think about it, the most meaningful relationships, even at no matter what age, you think about it, says, man, it seems like we've been knowing each other forever, because time does fly when you're having fun.
Right. And we're not saying also too that it's been a bed of roses. You know, we've had ups and downs, but just think about it, even in relationships with your friends. There are some friends you have a good time with, and it doesn't, when you get together, it seems like time flies and now you got to depart from each other. That means that the relationship is healthy, it's strong. I always say when people walk in the room, what kind of response do you get from them when they appear in the room? Is it a like, oh my gosh, here they come, or oh my gosh, here they come? So that's the kind of thing that we look forward to in our relationship.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, I understand. So it's definitely like, so do you feel like then, like how people have said the saying that your partner isn't just your lover but also your best friend. You feel like that very heavily applies to the situation then?
Absolutely, because good relationships and healthy relationships, they all require the same thing. They require, you know, some things we're going to talk about today. They require trust. They require intimacy. They require spending time together, getting to know the person. They require some common ground thoughts and ideas and concepts. So healthy relationship building have the general principles are basically the same. The foundation is the saying, and how you build upon each one, whether it's friendship, marriage, parental, you know, siblings, any business, employer, employee, whatever it could be, those relationships have fundamentally the same foundation, but you build upon each one of them a little differently as to where you want it to go.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying heavily. So then I feel like that's very good. So then go into our first question then. So then also so for the three questions that I have for you both today, and just so you can kind of think on it ahead of time is for one, do you feel as if people with two different love languages can make a relationship work? Two, what are your thoughts on the way certain dating habits are emphasized in today's world? It being obsession or like tracking each other's locations, lack of trust in relationships and things of those sorts. And then three, what do you feel like are vital elements that couples must recognize if they want to make it to a marriage? So then obviously first dive into that first question then yeah. So do you feel as if people with two different love languages can make it work? You know, a good example is this, like let's say like oh and one example, you know, even for me who've been in some relationships, people like there's gonna be definitive differences where it's like for me, example, the type of person that I am, I'm not always a person that's always immediately touchy-feely or like, you know, I can care about a person a whole lot, but at the same time, I'm not always gonna be inclined to always want to hug up on them at all times, always be cuddled with the person at all times. Doesn't mean I like that person any less, it's just never been me as a person all the time, you know? Well, then take for example, there may be another person to where she's more a person that likes to like cuddle or like just lay around a lot or likes to have more of that physical touch and everything. Do you feel like people of those two languages can like find a compromise or find a way to make it work?
Well, let's do this first so that your audience know exactly what the five love languages are.
Mm.
So when Cameron is asking that question about the five love languages, one is words of affirmation. That means that people want to have verbal affection. They want to be talked to and communicated to with a different kind of style, right? And then you have
Right.
quality time, people who want to spend time with you. They want your undivided attention and they want to go on walks together. They want to hold hands. They want to be with you. So that's quality time. Then you have the physical touch, meaning that you want to, you know, like you said, cuddle, hug each other and do all those kind of things. I'm one of
Right.
those people, right? And then there's receiving gifts. You know, some people like tokens of love. It doesn't have to be something expensive, but it means like you thought about me. You thought about bringing me a flower. You thought about writing me a note. So it's some kind of gift, or you thought about even getting me a present, whatever it is. But it doesn't have to be something that costs money. They want you to put some thought into things when you give it to them. And then acts of service, meaning like you want to do some things together. You want to, you know, maybe for us, maybe go out in the backyard and work in the backyard or whatever it may be, or just doing things together, serving other people together, maybe helping or preparing a meal together, just doing things like that, act of service. So those are the five love languages.
Yes, and those are the five. I can just interject just quickly. When it comes to a relationship, you must be willing to invest in the relationship. It's like someone who comes over for dinner with nothing but an appetite and some aluminum foil for the plate they're going to take home, right? You're not going to invite them over very often, but someone who shows up with something. So when I say investing, 5 love languages are important. If you've just been introduced to them, maybe that's a book that you may need to pick up. Understand the 5 love languages, because if you're in a relationship, they're going to gravitate to one of those 5. It's going to be a predominant one. And if you can't recognize it, you're not going to be able to meet their needs or expectations. And so one of the ways you invest in a relationship, even before you get there, is showing up, knowing what time it is with regards to love languages. So just like anything, whether it's your bank account or your relationships, you've got to invest in it in order to get the kind of return on the back end.
Right.
Um,
And so that question that you asked, Cameron, is so important because a lot of times people always think about you have to be the same, but the old adage again, opposites
yeah.
attract. So the important thing is to know your own love language, how you expect someone to love you. And then once you get into a relationship with someone else, and as you learn each other, you learn their love language. It's almost like you got to feed the love language so the love language can grow in that person. So if I know someone is a touchy-feely person, it doesn't mean I have to be that way, but I know that they are, and that's meaningful to them. So I want to give them what they need. Like Wyman said, you want to invest in that relationship and give people what they need so that they can feel satisfied in the relationship and vice versa.
Okay.
Here's a great story to go with that. And this not necessarily has to do with marital relationships, but if you if you love apple pie. Now, Wyman makes a great apple pie, and there's a young lady, she always says, "Oh my gosh, I love Mr. Wyman's apple pie." So whenever she comes over, back when she was younger, Wyman would always make her an apple pie. And I would always be saying, "Oh my gosh, why are you spending so much time making that apple pie?" He makes it pretty. He cuts the little top of the crust and designs it like an apple with the stem and the leaves. And it's so beautiful. When she comes over, I think she's gonna fall on the floor and melt because he did something for her that was so special, and she felt loved in it because he gave her a gift or he did something for her that was meaningful to her. And so sometimes when we do that, we build that relationship when we know that person's love language, when we can feed it and make it like really strong. It really does something endearing, because I think that young lady today, she loves Mr. Wyman even the more because of the thoughtfulness that he gave toward her with that apple pie. I'm going to tell you, she's 30 something years old. She's almost 40 years old. And she always still talks about that apple pie.
And you
So
think about in love language relationships, it's not about you, right? So when you
right.
study the love languages, yes, you need to identify, the way you like to be loved, where you qualify, but it's important to understand and recognize the person you're in a relationship, what they need. Because if you're in a relationship and all you focus on is what you want, then you got to question the quality of the relationship. Because and we've all been there. Some people don't love you. They love what you can do for them. And when
Yeah.
you can't do for them anymore, they stop loving you and the relationship is over.
Hmm.
But when you're in a
Okay.
relationship and your utmost desire is to provide what that other person needs, that becomes your focus. That becomes qualifies as, hey, it's a great day. I provided what they need, right? And they have a reciprocal approach to you, and you try to outlove each other in your own language. That's why time flies. That's why come on. That's why the relationships get stronger, because the more you're with someone, the better you understand their language, the better you
Okay.
understand your language. Now you're in a position where you can anticipate their need. You kind of read the tea leaves, if you will. You know exactly what they want when they want. Let me give an example. Everyone loves to eat, right? And
Mhm.
so if you have someone who loves fried chicken and someone else who loves baked chicken,
Right.
two different chicken languages.
Oh, two very different. Yeah.
Okay, can they coexist? Absolutely. Even one is cooking, even though they like it this way, they'll prepare it the way their spouse or their person in relationship likes it because that's what love does. In love, when you're in love, in relationship with someone, you'll do for others what you wouldn't even do for yourself sometimes,
Oh,
right?
okay.
And
Yeah,
that's why you can have two different love languages and have a great relationship.
Right. And just
okay.
adding to that, Cameron, too, it's really about serving one another. You know, how well do you serve the other person? And if you serve well, you'll get served well.
Yeah. So then
So,
oh, I do have one question. This and then also like segueing like into the certain parts. Then also this for the audience, like define what you mean by serve. I know what you mean by serve, but like define what you mean by serve because I know one thing that can happen a lot with some people nowadays in certain relationships is like they'll sometimes feel I don't want to say a sense of entitlement, but like people pretty much they don't want to get people like they want to be so against the mindset of oh I'm not gonna let my partner walk all over me or oh maybe a woman might say oh, I'm not gonna serve no man this and that do you know. Like they'll say, like they're very big on those certain standards where then maybe like the word serve may come off as a certain word or way to them. So then like define what you mean by like serve when you say to serve your partner and everything.
right. So serve is not like you're going to let somebody walk over you, right? Serving people is how you want to be treated, basically. You treat other people the way you want to be treated. And if you're in a relationship, it's not a burden and it's not overbearing. And in a relationship, you can't get to the place also too that, like you said, you're entitled. Like, oh, you're the guy or you're the girl, you're supposed to do this and I'm supposed to do this. It doesn't work that way. It's whoever can do something maybe better than the other person or more efficient than the other person, then that's to be determined in the space as well. But
Okay.
it's kind of like what you put out is what you're going to get. So what you sow, you reap, and as you generously give something to someone, it's a part of being selfless. Having a,
Right.
you know,
Hmm.
Yes, it's selflessness, and then it's not a competition, right? I'm not
Yeah.
competing against my partner. I'm not competing against Rosemary. We're a team. Each of us does some things better than the other. And for example, Cameron, I suspect that there's a good chance that when you meet the right one, you probably will be able to at least match her cooking skills, if not cook better than her.
Right.
Tradition, am I right?
Right. Yeah,
Oh,
definitely,
all
definitely.
right. He's not bragging, y'all, but man, he's got some skills.
he's got some skills.
He's got some
No,
skills.
actually,
Right. And I'm saying,
yeah.
so if you go by tradition and says, oh, we're married, and therefore, since you're the woman, you're supposed to cook, right?
Hmm.
Meanwhile, you have a passion and a love for that. That's silly. And people on the outside looking in says, man, I can't believe you do all the cooking and do most of the cooking in your house. Hey, this is the way we do it. Right. And so you
Hmm.
got to make it work. Again, love language, gifts, talents, skills, passions. Each have approach it differently. And that's why when you're in a relationship, it is going to be as unique as your fingerprints. There's going to be no
Okay.
other couple on the planet that's going to do it like you do it just because you're two unique people, right?
Hmm.
There's no blueprint for what your relationship is supposed to look like. However, when you come to it with the attitude that I am here to make life better for us, and by doing that, I make better life better for you. What can I do to help you do what you aspire to do, what you're born to do, what you're created to do, and vice versa? If both of you focus on each other in that, like it's not serving one at the expense of self, it's
Okay.
serving one because that's how the relationship is best served. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, I definitely understand. I understand how you mean it fully, and I definitely do resonate with the part of you saying how it's like how it's kind of like especially with doing certain roles, doing what you really feel like plays best with you and everything, especially with the no relationship has really a blueprint because I feel like that's where people can fall into a whole lot, especially with social media now. It's very easy for people to fall into the whole thing of like, okay, you see someone, you see maybe like this is a person that posts about relationship content a whole lot. So then it's like they'll say, oh yeah, okay, this and that do do do. No girl can be loyal. Oh yeah, this and that do do do. Oh yeah, the man should be this and that relationship. Like I feel like so many people emphasize certain things so much that it's like can put a person in the mindset that, oh, there's a certain blueprint I have to follow. So when they're not following it, they feel like that relationship isn't for them and everything. When in all actuality, they might be missing up an opportunity that's good for them, you know? So I
Yes.
definitely understand.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. The only thing I would say, the one common denominator from a faith perspective,
Hmm.
that is in every relationship is the presence of God.
Right. I
That's
understand.
a one thing, it's husband and wife and the Lord. The Lord is Lord of all, including over the marriage. And he
Mhm.
sets a blueprint with regards to what a marriage should look like. And it says, listen, submit ye one to another. That's like serve one another.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Doesn't serve one more than another. And one couple may do it differently than another. Yes, the man can cook, and this is not the case. Yeah, I just love to cook, right?
Yeah, I
But
understand. Yeah.
this is a true story, Karen. When I went to college, there was a guy there, right? When we got served in the cafeteria, he said, I didn't realize my mom couldn't cook until I left home. See, that
That's a
is a
great statement to
couple
say.
where the dad needs to be cooking because mom has
Okay.
no skills.
See, it's
In
not often
in
I've heard
your
that.
relationship, that's not going to be the case. You cook
Mhm.
because you're the best cook, period. Right?
Right.
I'm just saying,
Right. Yeah, I know. I see what you're saying. No,
you
I
understand what
understand.
I'm saying? So someone whose mom is an excellent cook, they may come and says, hey, this is how you're supposed to do it. The woman's supposed to cook, and that's the way it is. Yeah, but she's an expert, a chef or something. But everyone doesn't come like that. So each couple is going to have a unique assembling of where the gifts and talents, responsibilities, roles are that will maximize the relationship for them, not for the neighbor, not for Pookie, not for Ray Ray, not for Junebug now, right?
You're right.
Right. But for you, it's going to be unique to you
Right.
and be
All right,
comfortable
that
with
makes yeah, that makes so much sense. I understand that fully. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I understand that fully. I know, matter of fact, even then, like, you see, especially with the cooking part, I like that part a whole lot because not even just recently, like currently, I'm in a relationship. We've been together for a little while, and it's like recent for Valentine's Day. I know we went out, we did some other stuff here and there, went to the park and everything. And that same night, I ended up cooking a whole meal for us and everything. And it's like, in doing that, I recognize it's like she even said herself like, yeah, cooking wise. She can definitely make some good meals. She's made a few meals for me before that I really loved. But she said it very clearly, like, okay, then yeah, you're gonna be the one that's cooking things here and there. And even then, like how you mentioned, like conforming the meals to her taste, it's like while I'd be lying if I said there's certain meals that she likes or makes it's like it can really like not necessarily set up set up an alarm in my head, but I'm just like I'll be looking at it kind of like it can definitely have me perplexed, but nonetheless, I'm making her way and everything. Or I'm like
it.
kind of make it towards her like liking everything, especially because like she's Haitian. So then like things like fried plantains and everything is something that's a little bit it's something I haven't had made before, but even the process of making it that she showed me, I'm like, oh, that's like it was definitely something I've never really seen before. But obviously I went like making it for her. I made it verbatim to the way that she made it and everything, and like I made it catered it to a way, or even everything about the meal. I catered it towards a way that she liked it, whether it be the way that she likes her meat cooked, or whether the way it be that she likes her pasta as, or even the whole process of the meal being made. I had her constantly coming back to the pan, say, "Hey, taste this. Do you like this? Okay, taste this." Everything was trying to cater it to specifically for, like how she likes it and everything. While still I like the meal nonetheless, I'm making sure it's like something that she really like, not just because it's like Valentine's Day, but also because like even I told her myself, I want to learn how to make some. If this relationship is gonna go on for a while, I want to learn how to make a meal that it's like you would generally like, or a meal that's like, hey, could you make this and that again? Not just something that it's like I'm just making because I like it.
Yeah.
Right.
And Cam, you brought up two things. The first is when you're in the right relationship, you get better. You get better. I'm just saying, my son-in-law is from Haiti, right? And so
Okay.
since he's been in the house, I've had to step up my rice game,
I
right?
know that completely. I
You're
know that.
right. So cooking with ginger and garlic or
Yeah.
coconut milk and all those things
Hmm.
traditionally we don't do in the West, in the US, right? But you go to the
Yeah.
Caribbean, you go to Haiti, right? Man,
Hmm.
rice can stand alone on its own, right? If you do it
Yeah.
correct,
The
right?
first
So
thing
I've
she
had
had me do was change my
it's
rice.
forced me
Yeah.
to elevate. So I'm better. that relationship makes me better. And in regards to doing it like others do it, you mentioned Valentine's Day. Rosemary, tell you when, particularly before children, when we had a lot of time, on special days, birthdays, holidays, Valentine's Day, the best meals were at home. We didn't go out. I
Yeah.
did. It was in the kitchen with the candlelight, but it was a gourmet meal, but it came, from our kitchen. And I mean, that was the best, most romantic, best expression of my love, right? And value in our relationship is to do it myself as opposed to going out in a
Hmm.
reservation. Now,
Yeah.
other people can't see, yo, you didn't take her out for dinner? And they look at me like so what's wrong with you? But she'll look at me, says, no, he didn't. And that's the way we like it.
Right. That's
Hmm.
what that's our thing, right?
Yeah.
And so,
It-
and we're like, okay, here's another part you can extract from that too. We're talking about couples, but like even our son-in-law, he appreciates Wyman just like that young lady with the apple pie because he took time to do something special for them. And anytime in any relationship that you take time to do something special for people, they are going to appreciate it. They always say, I might not always remember, you know, the the hard things or the bad things that may have occurred in a relationship, but sometimes if we can highlight the good things that occur in relationships, which to me are generally more than the bad things, then we can dwell on those things and it pushes us to another place in our relationship. So I don't want to there's more good that basically all I'm saying is there's more good that happens in relationships, but sometimes we focus on the things that are not so good in relationships. And even when we're talking about these love languages, if you know your love language yourself, your own love language, it's okay to share it with the person that you're in the relationship with. And just because it takes a lot of the questioning out of it,
mhm.
make yourself very clear. And the person doesn't have to figure out anything. Sometimes we make people try to figure out stuff when we can just tell them what it is. Wyman always says to me, when we are going out somewhere, he'll say, don't tell me where you don't want to go. Tell me where you do want to go, because then it's like we waste time trying to figure out where do we want to go. So
Mhm. So no, I understand you both. So that's really good. I like your answers a whole lot because I definitely feel like again, those are things that people can really like. I feel like definitely can learn, you can benefit from the fact that like how you said how the opposite attracts and everything, serving your partner, but also learn how to cater towards one another, not just focusing on yourself. Because when you get in that relationship, it's not just about you no more. You get in that relationship is you saying, "Hey, I'm willing to make this commitment to like, hey, expanding my own view towards like incorporating you into it all as well, you know." And then all like and vice versa, it's not just a one man, it's not just a one, it's like, you can't dance by yourself and everything like that. In this situation, you can't tango by yourself. You need a partner for it. So
right.
I definitely understand you both very heavily on those. And I very much like how you both went into it. So then I feel like that's a nice way to go into the second question then, because then this kind of goes in like with like having that part and everything. I feel like nowadays there's a lot of different habits that I mean, I can't say I'm a fan for all of them. Some of them I'm against, some of them I understand, like maybe to a degree, but it might just be because I'm part of this generation. But then one of the other things that I was going into too for the next question was like, what are your thoughts on the way certain dating habits are emphasized in today's world? And to give an example, in case you're both not up on like certain things with social media about it, is like for example how there would be how there's like not want to say trends, but like how there's big things on a person tracking their significant other's location. Like iPhones, they can track each other's location. It's like I've known people where it's like, bro, me, I don't deal with it too much because I have an Android. I don't deal with it too much. Like no one really knows I'm at. I just kind of like, oh, you just got to kind of ask me and see if you can find me. But it's like lots of people they want to track each other's location, or it's like in people's relationship if their significant other for whatever reason cut off their phone or whatever like that. Maybe like no, they're not gonna cut off their phone. Like their location is off. All of a sudden, it's like they're causing a whole riot because it's like, oh, where are you? Why your location off? This and that, do. Or another thing is like obsession because like I've definitely realized it's a very big trend of like obsession relationships, and sometimes in an unhealthy way. I feel like where it's like it's a good example, right? is how it's like I'll see like with lots of people like that. They'll say, oh, like let's say how some women they'll say, oh, whatever man I get, I want to be friendly. I don't have no other friends. I want to be his only friend. This and that do. Or a guy may say, oh, I don't want my girl to be interacting with no other guys. That I want to be the only guy I'm interacting with and everything. Or it's like, hey, I want you to be around me at every single moment, every single day, at every single turn of the way and everything. And some people actually are all for it, you know. But then, how do you feel about these different dating habits that are more emphasized with the whole obsession or a lack of trust, assuming that all women or all men cheat, or there's always a lie behind everything?
Wow. So, you know what? I would say deal with the root of that. There's a root cause of why people have a lack of trust, how they are obsessed with things, how they may have this, a jealous spirit or all those kind of things. And if you can extract the root cause out of that, then you can help people to come out of those spaces. I don't think any of that is a healthy
Mhm.
relationship. Now, if you just want to know where someone is because you want to know that they're safe, that's different. If
Mhm.
you are a person that you got to know where somebody is 24 hours a day and you don't want anyone to have any other relationships with you other than yourself, whether they're male or female, there is that lack of trust. And when there is a lack of trust, there is also I'm going to say this, and I've seen it for many occasions. When there is a lack of trust, it could elevate to abusiveness, right?
Right.
So you don't want to put yourself in any space like that where those kind of spirit type things can be elevated in your life, because that's no joy, that's no peace. Nobody wants to be consumed with distrust or obsession of any kind, because it's not healthy.
Yeah, and I would say another angle is, where are you in the relationship? Did you just meet, or are you the one?
Okay.
Right. So once you
Yeah.
walk down the aisle, that's a whole different level of commitment. If
Hmm.
I go on the first date, am I going to give you my location? No, because I
Yeah.
just met you. That's stalking. That's
Mhm.
right.
Yes.
I got to know every minute you go. But let me tell
Yeah.
you, again, 36 years, she's got the passcode to my cell phone.
Okay.
All right. So,
Mhm.
which means there's nothing in there I want to hide. I'm not
Yeah, of course, makes
transparent,
sense.
right? And so I'm
Mhm.
confident in that. So if I see her looking through my cell phone, she can do it anytime she wants,
Right.
right?
I
But
understand.
because we're secure enough
Mm.
and trust each other enough that we can do that. It's just like when you first meet somebody, are you going to give them the keys to your car? Probably not.
Yeah.
Right. But once you develop a relationship and develop some trust, that with the trust comes greater access and, watch this, greater vulnerability. Right.
Hmm.
There's some friends
Okay.
that you can tell everything to, and there's some friends that you can't tell anything.
Yeah.
There's some friends, and you all know this. You look at the call ID and you say, "Oh man, I don't have the energy to deal with this right now." Oh, come on.
Yeah, I definitely have
Right.
a couple of friends where it
Right.
can be
And
like
then
that
some
sometimes. Yeah.
people, you see the caller ID and you actually get energized before you pick up the phone, because they're going to bring something to the party. They're always pouring into
Yeah.
you, giving you
Okay.
advice, encouragement, telling you things as opposed to draining you. Those people have greater access. Long-term
Hmm.
relationships implies greater trust, greater transparency, and again, greater access to not only your innermost thoughts, but the other things that you do.
Right. And
Okay.
even with the what Wyman said, that was really good, because the longer you know someone, you can give them greater access to you. Now, it still has to be healthy in the relationship, right? So
Mhm.
if you know someone is you know, very obsessed with things, they're always want to attract you wherever you're going. You have to determine yourself, is this the relationship that I want to be in? And then you have to determine, if it's not feeling good or comfortable for you, how do you gradually exit away from things like that?
Right.
And
Okay.
and I don't feel like you have to be mean to people, or just to say, hey, I don't know if this is going to work, or if they're willing to make some adjustments. If you really like the person, you can see how they're going to make those adjustments over time, and you can work with people too if it's somebody that you really care about. but you have to be open to receive, some correction, or have to be open to receive some making adjustments and making some adaptability to what the relationship really needs to be healthy. And if you find someone before you get married and they're not willing to work on a relationship to nurture it, then maybe that person is not for you. And so, but you have to make that determination what you're willing to, I guess you say, put up with, so to speak, or tolerate. That's a better word. What you're willing to tolerate in a relationship, and what is healthy, because we've done mentorship for lots of couples, mostly couples that are already married, but we get to do some mentorship with pre-marriage couples. And one of the things that we do talk about in relationships is that making sure that people are clear on what your expectations are in the relationship.
Yes.
And if you cannot articulate what you desire your relationship to be, maybe you need to go back to the drawing board and say, this is what I'm looking for in a relationship. I want to be happy. I want to have community. I want to have, like Wyman said, a healthy relationship as far as pouring something into somebody else so that we both can become better people. Yeah. So going back to the drawing board to examine, what is it that I really want in a relationship? And are these some of the things that I see popping up in the person that I'm with?
That's a good point. Remember, Cameron, we were talking earlier about, when it's time to go out to eat. And I'll say, you want to go there? You want to go? She said, no, I don't want to go there. I don't want to. No, don't tell me where you don't want to go. Tell me where you want to go. Yeah. In relationships, however, I would tell you, it's just as important to know what you don't want in a relationship, what you can't stand in a relationship, as it is to know what you want. Because, you can see the red light, the red flags early, and need to keep walking, right? Because you can't change people. You want people to be their authentic self. And for them to be their authentic self, if their authentic self isn't something that you desire, there's other people out there, right? And so that's the first thing. The other thing, you're talking about relationships in the dating game. Come in, we haven't been dating in 36 plus years. So, we're just talking about just in journal. But I will tell you this, due to social media, there is too much emphasis on the package as opposed to the content.
That's actually like verbatim the thought that I be having with it, where it's like, I like from that, it's like I feel like lots of time, at least the way I define it as too, is like I feel like lots of times with today was how relationships can be sometimes now is that people are so obsessed with just having that relationship or just the look of it rather than what's actually come with it. Everyone wants that ideal looking relationship, the relationship where it's like on Christmas where you'll see maybe certain couples they'll post pictures together when in their Christmas pajamas and everything like that. All this shit where a girl can be just treated out by her man all the time, and a guy has a girl that can serve a girl and serve him all different type of ways, and it's like everyone's that picture perfect type of relationship that they may ideally feel like, but in all reality they don't actually want that relationship. And I've actually had to tell certain friends that when we're having conversations about some of that stuff, they'll ask me about relationship stuff every so often. I'll ask them straight up like, okay, then do you actually even want the relationship with that person? Or do you actually just like the sound of having that relationship? Do you like just like the look of it, or you actually like willing to put in that work for it? Because if you don't want to put in that work for it, then you are in a losing game already.
Yes, and you think about it, social media can really dupe you, man. There's some people who fall in love with being in love.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
right? They don't want to be alone on Valentine's Day, on New Year's.
Yeah.
Right? So I call them seasonal hookups. Okay. All right. You heard it here first, America. Yeah, but the thing is, you see some people, they grow up dreaming about the picture perfect wedding with all the bridesmaids and things. And that becomes more important than the actual relationship.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And they'll have the big wedding, and then you see them breaking up. The wedding, the marriage doesn't last, but man, they had a heck of a wedding. Even scripturally, right? When the prophet Samuel was looking for a king, God had to remind him, and this is a good thing for people who are looking for the mate. He says, you look on the outer man, God looks on the inner man. You look on the package. God looks on the content. If you want to find the right person, the one that God sent for you, you can't spend too much attention to the package at the expense of the content. Because how many know you can put sour milk in a great looking milk carton? If you going around choosing your milk based upon the milk carton, you're gonna get a mouthful of curds and whey. And a lot of
Yeah.
people don't understand. You can have someone who looks like Glinda the Good Witch, right? She looks pretty, right?
Uh-huh.
But
Yeah.
her content is the wicked.
Horse.
Come on.
Yeah.
All right. Let me stop.
No,
And
you speaking
vice
a lot of you
versa,
speaking a lot of
everybody,
And
words,
right?
speaking
vice
a lot of
versa.
facts
And vice
though.
Yes.
versa as well. Yeah. So
Hmm.
that's really good though, Wyman, because even when we think about the um the content, it's really like settling yourself and saying,
Hmm.
what really matters in my life going ahead? Do I really want that soulmate that's supposed to be designed for me, or am I just gonna settle and have this fictitious life that is meaningless? And you know what? We can live our lives and we can leave this planet through death and never fulfill all of the joy and the fullness of life with the person that we're supposed to be with because we're trying to put on these airs or these um these ways for people to kind of look at you, but everything behind the scenes is like, you pull back the curtain and it's everything's phony and you've lived a phony life. And then
Okay.
you leave and then you're like, what have I done? So I say stop
Mhm.
wasting time and really just get into the stream of settling yourself and being confident in who you are and
Yes.
what it is that you want in life. And I believe that when everybody becomes true to themselves, we'll start seeing more healthy relationships because we take off the facade and we put on the garment of truth of
That's
who we
right.
are.
That's right. And
Yeah.
even in when I'm in business, in corporate coaching, I'll often say in these days, there are a group of people who have majored in looking successful, but they don't want to make the investment to be successful.
Yeah, I feel like that's verbatim like
Right.
how a lot of social media can work. Yeah.
Yes.
They look
And
successful, but
so
they're
there are people who have majored in looking like the right one, but they
hmm
haven't made the investment in themselves to be the right one. So you
yeah.
can walk down the aisle with the wrong one that looks like the right one if you're
Yeah.
not careful. I heard this analogy. You appreciate this, right? And not knocking on anybody who has it, but a lot of people say, "Hey, that Chrysler 300, it looks like a Bentley."
Mm.
Until
I
a
heard
real until a real Bentley drives up and parks beside it.
uh yeah, okay then. I see what you're saying then. No, I definitely, and especially when you say on that part of investing in yourself, that's a big thing I like to hear too. I feel like that's one thing people forget about when it comes to trying to like elevate certain relationships is like you have to invest into yourself as well as like before you can invest into another person, you know? It's like if you like the way I see it, it tells some people is like, okay, yeah, if you went through relationships, you've been cheated on, this and that. If you realize if you realize you're a person that just doesn't trust people, then you need to take some time to learn how to re-trust people before you get into that next relationship. Or like, or another way I'll say it as people is like, you don't want, I like the way I feel it as is that you don't want to go into a relationship with all that baggage because the relationship itself is already a package itself. So you want to go in with a light load so then you can be able to handle that heavy load, that relationship, and sort out all that stuff. You
Oh,
know,
that's
that's the
good.
way I view it as.
Oh man, you
It,
just go ahead, Rosie.
this is a thing that Wyman and I used to tell a lot of couples, that we would say, write down all of what you want in a guy, or write down all of what you want in a young lady.
Mhm.
And then when they write it down, we say, now, would that young lady want you? Or would that young man want you that you just wrote down? So how are you gonna transform yourself to
Mhm.
be attracted to the person that you say you want, right?
Yeah.
So when most people write it down, and I'm gonna tell you, sometimes we would get the answer is no, that person wouldn't want me the way I am right now. So what are you gonna do to invest in yourself to become the person that will be attracted to the people that you really want?
Yes, and the
Mhm.
best time to invest in yourself is when you're not, before you get married, before you have kids, before you have a full-time job. You can invest in yourself, learn a language, learn finance, learn to put some polish on it if you would. Here's the other thing. You talked about people bringing baggage into the relationship from bad relationships in the past.
Mhm.
When you are looking for the right one to be your soulmate for life, there's no room for a third wheel.
Yeah.
And so if you're
Okay.
bringing insecurities from prior relationships, you're basically inviting the person in that prior relationship into your marriage. That
That's
doesn't work.
yeah,
Mhm.
no, they don't worry. I did. I feel like that's gonna hit a lot of them people because I feel like I've met countless people where it's like they kind of hold on to things from the past relationships and like it's one thing to learn a lesson, but it's one thing for that lesson to keep on beating you over the head time and time again. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. So I had to feel like I understand what you mean. And then I from everything y'all both said too, I had two. It was two questions that popped in my head too. One was from a little bit while back on the obsession thing, and the one was from what you said now about investing into yourself. So then to start with the more recent one, right? What do you feel like is the fine line then between like investing into yourself and actually like changing your whole personality for just that one person and like it being an unhealthy change, you know?
Yeah. I don't think that we need to change who we are because then
Mm.
again, we're not true to ourselves. I think that all of us need some tweaking.
Mhm.
You know, if somebody, okay, here's for me, I would tell people this story all the time. I said, when I first got married, I was a neat freak. I mean, when I said neat freak, I was like, it got to be put over here, it got to be put over there. You know how I am, right? I'm very organized
Yeah.
and all that kind of thing, right? And then the Lord kind of spoke to me and said, hey, if you don't stop being a neat freak, you're going to kill yourself because you're going to get stressed out. You're going to be anxious for everything. And then finally I
Yeah.
said, okay, I'm
That's
going to stop
it.
doing that. So that was something good for me, but it didn't change who I was about being a person of order and structure. But I
Mm.
had to let some of it go so it wasn't consuming me so that I can get on with my life. So it's the same thing when it comes to relationship. You don't want anybody to transform you, to change you into somebody
Mhm.
that you're not, but you do want to be
Right.
transformed to be a better person of who you are.
That's right, because
Okay.
none of us is perfect.
Right.
None of us
Mm.
is perfect, which means we're all in a state of transformation and hopefully to
Okay.
become better. You know,
Yeah.
the Apostle Paul talks about, I press towards the mark. What he was saying was, I'm not perfect. There's room for improvement. And when you go into a
Hmm.
marriage, there's room for improvement on both parties' behalf. And then there's room for improvement in the marriage. Yes, we've been married 36 years, but we're looking forward to our marriage getting even better than it is now. And it's pretty doggone good right now, but we know it can get better. And that's what, we get excited about how that's going to manifest.
Right. And Cameron, you
Okay.
can also think about this in relationships with other people. All the people that we've met in our lives, when they've come across our path, have they made us better people? And that's something to think about.
Okay.
Now, even in relationships, you could have had friends and you can say, knowing that person made me a better person. And that means that that person is contributing value to your life. So if you're in a relationship and no one's contributing value to your life or making you become a better person, then you have to evaluate, what's the opposite of that? Are they making me worse than I am? Are they bringing out the the worst in me? Or are they bringing out the
Mhm.
best in me? Right?
Okay. So then I definitely understand what you're saying with that because that's definitely that things that again all these are very prime points people need to look into when it comes again to certain relationships, especially if they want to like make it to that like marriage point that so many people want to go to and everything. Because I definitely feel like yeah, it's definitely a running habit that it's like people need to take that inward look and like recognize the fact like they make improvements or like tweak little things, but not actually change their personality. Because actually, I even have had some friends where it's like in them try like maybe like, especially with guys, like certain guys, like in them trying to like impress this girl and do this and that, they're doing stuff that's way outside of their personality range. It's like it's one thing to like make a tweet, but you're trying to change. It's like it's one thing to, like fits with the car a little bit, trying to like change a few things. But you're trying to get a whole new model of a car. You're trying to like, change the entire car instead of like, just change the oil, doing something, like you're trying to do way too much. And it's like, it's just going to hurt you in the long run. Cause then it's like, well, I told one friend, it's like, okay, if you make all these changes, let's say you do make all these changes, then what if you don't end up liking you? Then what? You just made this whole change for no apparent reason. You're doing all this stuff, and it might even hurt you in the long run for no reason. It's like, at that point, you're just hurting yourself in the long run. So then, and then another question. So one of the other questions from earlier on with the obsession stuff, then too, with like kind of leading to this stuff too, is then what do you feel like is the fine line between a partner having an obsession and truly just having affection towards the person that they're with? You know, it's like, let's say, especially like maybe like with a girl or guy, right? You really do care or love for your significant other, to where it's like, okay, then hey, like, I love being around you. I like this and that. I love hanging out with you. I love going out with you every or whenever we're possible. What do you feel like is a fine line between that person being obsessed or doing too much with it, or then them showing actual genuine affection, and that's just how they are?
I think when it gets to a point where you feel like you're suffocated, and I've seen couples in those spaces, when you feel like you're being suffocated, then it's not good. And listen, I'm going to tag back onto what we were just saying before with that other thing, when you were saying about when people try to change you. At some point in that, you'll get burnout, and you'll get tired of trying to meet someone else's expectation of who you are not.
Yeah.
I just want to throw that in there. But I think on this other part about the obsession, when you feel as though you're being suffocated, and you can't move to any spaces of the relationship without a fear, then that is not healthy.
Okay.
Yeah. And obsession will also lead over into other dysfunctions, right? So insecurities, control, overwhelming. You walk down, you're a couple together, peers, equals, help each other. And in no way in that definition is the word control. You don't
Yeah.
control people, right? Or if they do something, they have to do it your way, right? And even you know, if you're obsessed with something, if it's a little bit off, then it kind of ruins your day, right? That means you're obsessed with it. And then one thing is to kind of help you relax, and you learn this when you get older. You know, you don't have to get an A on everything. Some things are pass fail in life. And the person who thinks they got to get an A on everything, they don't enjoy life as much as
Right.
someone who realizes some stuff is pass fail. I don't have to
Mm-hmm.
get it perfect on everything, right? Some
Yeah.
things I just need to get to the next window, the next gate, the next opportunity, the next day, the next conversation, right? And speaking of conversations, there's some people who are obsessed with being right, obsessed with
Yeah.
winning the argument. And here's one of the biggest secrets to 36 years of happy marriage is I did not walk down the aisle to win the argument.
Yeah.
Sometimes in a relationship, you take one for the team.
Yeah.
You may know you're
Okay.
right, but you know what? In the big picture, if it's going to ruin the rest of our evening, the rest of our weekend and things, I'll be wrong. If it's not going to kill us, okay, I'll
Yeah.
agree. And by the way, or you agree to disagree. You learn how to do that very well and sincerely. And
Mm.
if you and this is any relationship, whether it's marriage or not, understand this: your truth may not be the truth,
Okay.
but your truth is not necessarily wrong either.
Yeah.
See, your truth is based upon your life's experiences. Therefore, if you experience different things growing up than someone else did, then what's true for you may not be true for them. It doesn't
Mm.
mean that their truth is wrong. It just means that their truth is different.
Right.
All
And when
right.
you don't understand that, when people disagree with you, you're basically saying my truth is the only truth in the universe. And that
See.
will
Yeah.
that will lead to a disruption in any relationship, whether it's husband and wife, brother and sister, parent, child, et
Mm.
cetera, right? It doesn't matter, work relationships. So you got to understand, there's your truth, there's my truth, and then there's the truth, which is somewhere in the middle, someplace usually.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. That's actually. Oh, sorry. You gonna say something?
No, I was going to say, you asked the question about the obsession, and where's the fine line in that. you determine where the line is. It's like, you know, that how the kids would draw the line in the sand and say, now cross this line, there's gonna be trouble.
Yeah.
So you get to decide in your area of what you feel is too much or too little. And the other thing too, with the obsession thing, you want to be careful that people don't idolize you, because idolization is not healthy in those spaces
Yeah.
as well. And so you get to determine where the line is, and you get to talk to the person. And if you can have a conversation with people and they're genuinely sincere about it, you can, like Wyman said, you see where they're coming from, and then you can maybe have an understanding about their perspective. Then that means that you're maturing as a person and you are getting something valuable from that relationship.
Okay, so I guess yeah, those are all like those are again like some really. I know I've been saying this a lot, but those are some all really meaningful points. You know, especially like with again, especially on the point of like with the the both you both having your own truths and everything, and like even in your situation where you could be right, but you kind of like not necessarily settle, but like you're not walking down the aisle just to be right. I definitely understand what you're saying with that. I know I feel like one example that I had with it is like for example, me being an older brother and everything, right? Me and my little brother, we argue constantly, like we argue a whole lot about a lot of different things. So like me, I'm so used to kind of like having the arguments back and forth where it's a good chance I'm right, you know? I'm proving my point to him. Because he's like with him, it's like, okay, I'm just getting my point across, I'm letting it be known, like, hey, this, that, and everything. To where it's like by accident, I sometimes would carry those habits into over to my relationship where it would be like at first, I think me and her, we not necessarily argue, but we had me like we just disagree about other things, how we view different things, right? So we're having a whole conversation about these and those different parts, right? And it's like, I'm hearing out her part like that. And it's like at a certain point, she just would be like, you know what, hey, okay, it is what it is. And I can clearly see on her face, okay, she has more to say. So I'll be asking her. At one point, I was asking her, like, hey, like, why don't you want to say this and that? I mean, I'm genuinely asking, like, what is your viewpoint? I just want to know what it is. And when she was like, okay, then you say that. But like the way you speak about everything like that, the way you come at the way you come at the disagreement that we have, it makes it seem as the way you talk makes it seem as if no other answer is acceptable, or like the way you talk makes it seem as if like whatever you say is final. So I had to recognize the fact, oh, okay, the way I just like something as simple as the way I have my tone when I'm talking, not that I'm talking aggressively, but the way that I talk is like leave the discussion open to be debated and actually like talk about it rather than speaking in a way of what I say is final and everything. It's just little things like those, you know?
It's good. Let me give you a cheat code for that conversation, right? I mean, this
Mhm.
really works. When they express, whether it's your brother or someone else, you say, I hear you. I understand why you would feel that way. I know exactly where you're coming from. But in my experience, this
Okay.
this is what is true for me in this situation, right? And so, but based upon your experience, I know exactly where you're coming from, understand exactly why you're expressing it in that way. But again, in my experience, this has been what's been true for me. And so
Uh,
right there, you're saying, I hear you. I'm not saying that you're wrong, but I'm saying based upon my experience, or in some cases, you really want to get flippant about it, based upon the science and the facts. No, we don't want to go there. No, but you if
Fact checker.
if you want to have some fun with it, right? But don't
Yeah.
poke the guy while you're loving him, right? So you say, hey, in my experiences, this has been the truth for me. So that's all I was trying to say.
Yeah,
And
you
Okay.
can also ask people too, like, tell me why you feel that way. You know, that's a
Mhm.
good way to get an understanding about other people if you're
yeah,
not sure. It's just,
Mhm.
I like Wyman said, I hear you, but tell me a little bit more why you feel that way.
yeah,
If you're in this debate and you're trying to resolve something, because the whole big thing about relationships, when you do have sometimes conflict, there is a solution. God, we're biblical based people, so
yeah.
there's a solution for everything. Even in the workforce, there are solutions, and people who can bring the most solutions get paid the most money, right? So
Right.
we're problem solvers in our nature, but sometimes we don't look for the solutions. We focus more on the issue or the problem versus finding the solution. And I think that should
Okay.
be really our goal. And we can do it together. And sometimes I don't even like to use the word compromise. I always say, let's work together so that we can find out
Right.
the answers that we
Oh
need
yeah.
to resolve what is going
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. And communication is so important. Yeah, listen, when somebody, particularly when they get animated, right? Like
Mhm.
I don't say the word argument, I say spirited debate. Same thing, right? But
Yeah.
when they get animated and they raise their voice or start using hand gestures, you need to take a step back and say, wow, that's it. You feel really passionate about that. Why are you so passionate about this? Because here's the thing,
Mhm.
Simon Sinek wrote a book, and he talks about basically the why is more important than the what. The what is what
Yeah.
you're arguing about, but why are you so passionate about it? And what you'll find
Mhm.
is some of that baggage they're bringing in. Hey, when I was 6 years old, this did this. In my last relationship, they used to say this all the time, and I just get upset when I hear that. And now you understand the why behind the what, and it'll help you navigate that bridge the next time you cross it. That
Yeah.
you understand the why. It's not about you. It's about a
Mm.
previous experience. Now that,
Okay.
but they're
Okay.
expressing it and they get emotional about it. So, in a great relationship, part of the communication is to understand the why behind the what. Does that make sense?
Yeah, fully makes sense. I understand. It's definitely like I feel like that why would definitely like obviously give it that gateway to then how you said when you brought up, oh yeah, this and that happened at 6 years old and made me feel these and those ways, it can really get to the root of the problem. Or like the not really want to say problem, but the root of like what this discussion whole discussion is about and everything. I understand fully what you're saying about that. So then that's I feel like that's a very nice segue into like our final question then. That's when everything is like that's a perfect segue into our final question then. So then leading from that, leading from all the points that you mentioned about, understanding, not necessarily compromise, but just learning to incorporate different views, each other's views and everything. For the final question is, what do you feel like are vital elements that couples must recognize if they want to make it till marriage?
Well, we talked about a few of them already. Definitely trust is at the top of the list for what I would think. But I also think about having shared values and shared goals.
Yeah.
Making sure that, we talk about people, in biblical concepts being equally yoked. It's not your race or anything like that, but it is about having the same values, the same vision, the same goals in life, or similar, very close to life, but definitely shared value. Um, you want to be with someone who has dreams and aspirations that connect. And so, if you say, "Hey, I love mountain climbing, and I have a dream to be this and this and this, and all I want to do is be outdoors all the time, and I want to go camping, I want to do this, and that's like really huge and heavy in my life, and it's nothing that is and you're an executive, and you want to be in the corporate space, and you don't want to be outside, and you don't want to do all that kind of stuff, then there's a disconnect in some shared values and spaces. And I'm not saying that, you can't love to do that as a hobby and somebody else maybe not want to do it. But if it's your life,
Mhm.
listen, I am not a wilderness girl. So I was definitely not going to marry a wilderness guy.
Yeah.
But there's nothing against the wilderness people. That's what they
Yeah.
love. Now I do
Yeah.
love being outside, but you understand what I'm saying? I don't want to be in that
Yeah.
space. So we have different shared values or something like that.
Her idea of wilderness is camping out at a Ritz-Carlton with a picture window of the wilderness. That's that's her view of it. But listen, if two people, no matter where they start, are headed towards the same point, goal, they'll never grow apart, right?
Mhm. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, man. Oh, you're muted. I can't hear you.
But if you're going to the same spaces, like you're growing together, you're going to eventually meet at the top. There's not going to be like, oh, we're saying we're growing apart. But if you're coming together for the same value, the same principle, the same vision, you're going to meet together. You're not going to be this way, right? So it's like this is the point we're aiming at, and if we're both getting there, we'll be the genesis of that will be you'll be united and you'll be together with it.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
Yeah, I was going to say, and this is the prayer that we prayed for all three of our children they're all married now. But even when they were small, our prayer was that they meet and marry someone who loves the Lord more than them. Now, what
Mm.
that does is if you have two people in a relationship and they're both chasing after God, God's only in one place. That means that no matter what happens, they're still going to get closer, not only to God, but to each other.
Mhm. Okay.
And so if you have a mate that has similar goals, like you have similar financial goals, you won't have one that's spending everything, right, as soon as a check comes in,
Mhm.
and one that's trying to save everything. But
Okay.
you will come together on how to save more, plan for a retirement that is debt-free and stress-free. You got to be on the same page to both pursue that same point. And so when you come together with someone in a relationship and you have like goals, particularly long-term goals, you will get closer to each other and you'll grow together as you pursue that singular purpose.
Right. And in that comes also to monitoring habits. While you're dating someone, you can observe people's habits about
Mhm.
their shared values and their goals and their dream. You can observe those and see if they're in alignment with the things that you are looking for. And it's also important to let people know what your dream and your vision is. It's kind of like, how can two walk together unless they agree? And so the only way you can agree is if somebody had a conversation. It's like in a business contract. I don't sign real estate contracts until both parties have read it and then it's signed. And now we're technically under contract, right? But we had to have some meeting of the minds about what we are wanting to do, and that was negotiation in that. So you really want to make sure that you're monitoring people's habits and communicating what your dream and your vision is. The other thing, other than trust and then shared values, is respect and honesty. So you want to respect each other for the gifts that they bring to the table, and you want to promote honesty in relationships, because I guess I should put honesty and trust together, because without honesty you can't build trust.
Right, right.
And
Right.
but then in all of that, you learn to respect people, and that's what we sometimes call the speed of trust, meaning that you can get things
Okay.
done faster when you respect someone and trust is there.
Yes.
um
Yeah, the other thing I think, when it comes to habits, you got to observe and be with someone long enough to see a full cycle of habits,
mhm.
right? That's why, quick relationship, get married. Some people, we've all heard the stories, hey, we only dated for 3 months or 2 months, right? But I'm
Yeah.
telling you, you can fool people for 3 months.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
hard to fool people over a longer period. And I'll tell you, even in the corporate realm, for those of you getting ready to go for interviews, a savvy person who's considering you for hire will, yeah, they'll take your resume, they'll take your interview, they'll take your transcripts, but they're going to look at your social media profile.
Oh, yeah, that's a
And,
big
and so,
given.
which goes back like forever, right?
Mm.
Because, once stuff has been posted on the internet, it's out there in the atmosphere for a while. And they'll say, is this someone that I want representing my company? Oh, yeah, that was 5 years ago. Even in politics now, you see in this past elections, people that posted things that were not good 5, 10 years ago, and now it's resurfaced. Now it's front page above the fold. It's in the
Yep.
trend line, and they lose a position, they lose the appointment because of something that was in the past. And
Yeah.
why? Because that's an indication, perhaps, of what someone's future is going to be, unless they have a dramatic change. And so when you
Uh-huh.
look at someone, keep in mind when you talk about, hey, what does your dream mate look like? Would that dream mate want to walk down the aisle with someone who posted pictures or had someone else post pictures or comments on a page in your social media trail?
Uh-huh.
If not, that may be something that, hey, is this you? Was this you, man? What was going on here? Because this is so unlike you. What's changed, right? And are the same friends that posted on your page are they still in your life? Are they still
Right.
influencing you? Do you want to
That's a big
walk
one.
down the
Yeah.
aisle with that? Like I said,
Uh-huh.
I'm just asking for a friend. We've been married 36 years. We good.
y'all are perfect. Y'all good.
And you know
Mhm.
what, too, with all of that, you really want people, if you want to continue your relationship, you want people to be really genuine in their commitment to the relationship. You know, when we talk about people being really genuine, it'll come out in their communication toward you. How people talk to you. And again, we're going back to that respect and everything and trust and honesty. But you want to make sure that you're genuinely committed and there is some sincerity in what you're engaged in. You know how you can have a discerning that people are phony,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
if you have that discernment that people are phony, then you get to decide once again if this is what you want to have in your life, and you don't want to really go through life living this fictitious thing or putting on
Mhm.
airs and not being real and true to yourself, because in
Right.
the end it just causes more suffering. And when we are really truly genuine in our commitment with relationships, there comes maturity with that. So some people, I'm gonna tell y'all, we know people that probably like, oh, we are, they're still very immature.
Yeah, maturity has nothing to do with chronological advancement,
Right.
Yeah.
nor does
Okay.
wisdom, right? You can be young and wise, and you can be young and
Yeah.
mature, and don't let
Uh-huh.
anyone tell you different.
Right.
Yeah.
So just really in like packaging all of that up, you really need to, when you think about some points about recognizing how you want to grow in a relationship, and if you want to take it to that stage of marriage, there's some self-evaluation that you have to do, and then there's an evaluation that you have to give to the person that you are in the relationship with. Like, really evaluate what the outcome will be, what the future looks like, and make some decisions about your life that are going to be beneficial and will help you in the long run when you think about
Mhm.
relationships. And again, it's not just always the marital relationships, but it's any relationships, right? That you get,
Mhm.
because when we talk to people about networking, we have a whole thing about 100 network tips, right? But when you
Right.
think about networking, the networking is not just for you to take, but it's also for you to give. And so even in the relationships that we have, having the give and take kind of concept in it is going to really blossom into something that could be a very fruitful relationship for you.
Okay. So then like I'm taking from everything you said. Then how can I say this? Like, okay, that out of all the different elements that you mentioned, man, what do you feel like would be like maybe obviously apart from trust? Then what do you feel like would be the most important elements out of trust and out of one understanding your partner? Out of everything you said, Ball said, then what do you feel like would be like an idolizing feature, like the one thing that like if that one element in a relationship isn't there, then you feel like it just couldn't work out no matter what, or like how, or yeah, you should definitely make big reevaluations with it.
I say genuine commitment,
Okay.
being genuine.
Yeah. And I would say that love, that agape love, which is forgiving, it's patient, it's kind, it's
Mhm.
selfless, right? You come at that, it's not, you don't love someone because of what they do for you. You love them in spite of, not necessarily because of,
Oh,
right? And,
okay.
and you know, when they come into your presence, they can be genuine because that kind of love doesn't judge.
Mhm.
That kind of love doesn't make a federal case when you make a mistake,
Mhm.
right? That kind of love acknowledges your own imperfections. And,
Yeah.
and, and if both parties in a relationship bring that kind of love to the table, it's hard to beat that.
Mhm. Yeah, that's some really good. Those really good features. I feel like that's definitely something that I feel like a lot of people look at is like, okay, then hey, even if I'm going about my relationship my own certain way, doing these and those different things, what I feel like that's one thing, even for myself, that I'll be sitting down thinking is like, okay, then I know what I want in a relationship. I feel like I feel confident about what this person is bringing to me. But what is like the one key feature I should actually at least look out for and everything? Because then, like, especially like what I've realized in coming into college, too, is like a lot of people are very much in the mindset that it's like, hey, I don't want to waste time, I don't want to waste like whatever relationship I want to get in, I want to like go somewhere and everything, Even me myself, I mean, did I say so I definitely did like talk with this and that person. I definitely did like look into different things, different people, but I did make it very clear where it's like, okay, hey, if I'm actually like gonna like it's one thing for me to talk with a person, get to know them, see how it's going, but to like full on date a person, then it's like that's because I'm feeling like, hey, this actually be something that could like go somewhere like that. I'm not like I don't want to just like jump into a relationship. I want to actually make sure it can count for something and it can actually like go somewhere.
Yeah.
So I
Okay,
definitely
let
feel like,
me just, I would be remiss if I didn't say this.
mhm.
Uh, for those of faith, a lot of times we get on our knees and start praying when the relationship goes south, when we're in trouble, when we said something we shouldn't have said. In other words, it's a 911 call.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. And the best marriage counselor, relationship counselor, best career coach, whether you're looking for a new job, Jesus, Holy Spirit is the best counselor ever on any topic. And he should be included in the conversation as a design point, not an afterthought.
all
Before
right,
you go to the party where you might meet somebody, you spend time with him. So make sure you don't waste your
mhm.
time at the party introducing yourself to somebody who ain't the right one because he knows the end from the beginning. And so when
Yeah,
you include God up front to say, Lord, this is the desires of my heart, I trust you to make it happen.
okay,
That's a, in other words, the foundation of your relationship that dates in time, a point in time that's before the hello, my name is. God was
mm,
already in it. Come on.
okay,
That you
yeah,
as a person of faith, you gotta consider that. And I say it's not just about relationships, but again, hey, I majored in this. What career should I do? What job offer should I accept?
mhm.
Don't do the 911 call 6 months into a new job and realize you got the wrong one.
Yeah,
Ask him
mhm.
from a design point, as they say, from Jump Street, from out the gate,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, definitely just save you all the time,
Yes,
like call
yes.
them afterward. We could just call them beforehand. All
Yeah.
right, I'm saying, yeah. So
Yeah.
then, segueing from all these different standpoints and everything, and especially from when we was talking about the love standpoint, like actually like having that love for your partner and everything, right? One thing I feel like is very big is right. Like, and one question I feel like would be like almost like I feel like a big point as I feel like a big point that I feel a lot of people have the question on necessarily on. I feel like it can definitely have different definitions, but I want to like definitely bring your standpoint and your mindset on how you see that is right when it comes to relationships and everything like that. And this is like as the final question before we end off this video. Then for the final question for everything is, what do you feel like, especially when someone meets a significant other and they're getting to the point where they're going from liking to actually loving that person? What do you feel like is the definition of loving someone? I feel like different people can have different definitions, but what do you feel like if you feel like there is a cold cut definition to how you can kind of put it as, what do you feel like is like the definition of truly loving someone? Because obviously to have a relationship with that person, to marriage and everything, you have to actually love that person. You have to actually have that commitment to them. So what do you feel like would be the definition of that to where you can like you to where after you get off that phone call with them, after you're through with maybe like hanging out with them, you go back home, you sit down, you're like, oh wow, I love this person, it kind of hits you, what do you feel like is that fine line to define love?
Okay. So I there it's the big what I call the big transition in relationships. When
Mhm.
you go from like enjoying someone's company, saying you like someone, and then it turns into love, it means to me really the unconditional love, like Wyman was talking about. It means
Mhm.
that I'm willing to accept that person for who they are. And I love them in spite of the things that they may not do right, or I love them for all the things that they do right. Uh,
Right.
and and even now it's a contemplation about, you know, I'm willing to give my life to that person's life. And there is no now this is pure love. Now, we're not talking about people who say, oh, I'm in love, and it's just a butterflies in the stomach kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because, people can say they're in love, just like people can say they're a believer, but they don't act like it. But when you start
Right.
acting like you're in love, when you start doing all those things that we were talking about, that you're selfless in giving, you're selfless in your commitment, and
Mhm.
you are ready to take things to another step, then to me, that's sincere love. Because, people can date for years and they don't want to make a commitment. And then to me, that's not really honoring people. That's not really respecting people.
Mhm.
So when you're dating someone, you have to say, what is going to be the end results? What is the end results of this dating relationship? Just like you said, you don't want, some people say, I don't want to waste any time, because if you're not looking, here we go again, looking for shared values, shared vision, shared goals. If you're not looking
Right.
for someone who wants to be married, who wants to be committed for the rest of their life to someone, then you could be wasting your time, because some people, they're not ready to make the commitment, and that's okay, because you don't want someone to be forced into a commitment to you, because then there'll be resentment, or there'll be in a place where they feel like, should I have done this? It's questionable, right? You want
Mhm.
someone to be sincere and truthful about it and be all in. So for me, I think it's that transition to be committed.
Yeah, it is the transfer. It's relationships. You can have a lot of relationships. You can have acquaintances, you can have friends, you can have colleagues, or what we're talking about, that special person. When I say special person, I'm not talking about, grandma used to say, that girl got your nose wide open, right? In other words, you're
Yeah.
smitten, right? And you're on the phone just listening to each other breathe, right?
Uh-huh.
Because you like being in their presence. I'm not talking about that. That's infatuation. That's obsession. Sometimes,
Mm.
um, and, it, it it's not love. But when you get cross that river to where they're special, that means you on the phone listening to each other breathe. You say, hey, you got a test tomorrow. We need to hang up so you can go study. You
Right.
care about them enough to tell them, hey, I can stay here all night, but you can't, because I want what's best for you. That's
Yeah.
one thing. The other thing is, when you receive that message, I got to go, you need to go study. You don't get mad, because you know that they're saying it out of the sincerity and their
Mhm.
honest love for you. And now you can be transparent. And what's driving the relationship is not about you, but what's best for the relationship, and particularly
Yeah.
for the other person, right? And so
Yeah.
that is that's a big difference, right? Hey, we can't afford, we could go out. I got the money to do this, but we need to save money for this or a bigger goal, right? And you are able
Mm.
to check each other
Mhm.
in love and receive it and not get offended. That, man, that's huge. And that's one
That's
of
I
the
feel.
things, differences
Mhm.
between just in a relationship or in a relationship that could go lead to something more, if you would. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that fully makes sense. I've actually had interactions with people where it's like, I've heard like maybe like I've heard some women say, okay, well, if you love me so much, why don't you just do this and that, do, like for it's something as simple as actually I've been in a situation where it's like, okay, then you want to send the
Ooh,
phone and everything like that. I understand it. You want to send the phone and everything, but I gotta give it in the morning. You gotta give it in the morning, especially because I know you got something coming up. And then it's like, it's the whole back and forth saying, oh, okay, well, actually did care and love me like how you did. Say, well, you just on the phone me, like, I don't want you in my presence. And it's like, I iterate the fact of, okay, then I do care about you because I want you to, like, make sure you can get up. I know you like to sleep and I know you like to, like, cater to yourself. And I know you like to sleep in and everything. I know you don't like waking up early. So it's like, I'm not going to have you up to like 5, 6, 7 in the morning just because I want to, because you have that care for a person. Because I feel like that's people can misconstrue the whole lie is that you love a
yes,
person isn't just you just showing that love just because you want us to be around all the time, but it's like you also caring for that person and like recognizing, hey, you have those things going on and coming up. Let me like make sure you can take care of your business and everything, and like
yes,
so I definitely
yeah.
understand where you're coming from those perspectives.
You love it. And listen, here's a story. I used this as an example when it came out. So this was 4 years ago. Sha'Carri Richardson, the U.S. Olympic trials. And a friend, watch this, an acquaintance, a friend invited her to a party where they were smoking pot, and
Okay.
she popped positive, and she was disqualified, didn't go to the
Yeah.
Olympics for the team. Now, at the time, I said America loves a comeback story, and she's got to resolve to do it. And sure enough, that came to pass. But
Yeah. Yeah.
a
Sure thing.
friend never would have invited her to that party, knowing what her goal in life was,
Yeah.
knowing what the
Exactly.
rules about substance abuse was for the Olympic Committee. A friend would have locked her in, even if she wanted to go, let alone
Yeah.
invited. So when you have a true friend that really loves you, they won't allow you to do stuff that could jeopardize your potential or your highest goals, even if you want to do it, they won't allow you to do it. So you got to, you would say you got to go through me if you're going to go there, because this is not, you have to friends remind each other of their goals and their
Mhm.
potential. And friends don't allow anything to marginalize the potential of the ones that they love.
And you know what? That's a part of maturity in relationships as well. Everybody needs to grow. Everybody needs to grow. Not that we say, I don't want to grow, but everybody needs to grow. We don't want to be individuals that keep trying to go back and sit in the kindergarten seat because we can't fit, right? So
Mhm.
once you mature in your relationships, you should mature in the size of your relationship, like where you're going. So if it's, when you're a young kid, you got certain things, you get a high school, you do this, and then you go to college, you do this, when you get a young adult, and so forth and so on in life. But there's some things as we go through life, we've got to continue to mature. We've got to continue to have emotional intelligence and all of those things too. So
Mhm.
a part of all of what, Wyman was talking about is just really a level of maturity that you have a deeper understanding about the goals in life of other people, and you want the best for them.
Exactly. So I feel like the way we touched on a lot of really good points in this video, and I feel like you both brought amazing perspectives on different things. I feel like people would definitely benefit from in the long run, because I feel like, again, everyone's pushing for that high standard in relationships, like, oh, we can make it to marriage and that, have the marital life, kids, family, however it may be, however they view the relationship being. But it's just about how they want to go about it and how they need to go about it. I feel like that's what people need a whole lot, because no one really knows all the time. I mean, me myself, I don't even know. So I mean, this video was helpful for me too. I feel like I have an idea of certain things, but it's always better to learn from people who've already been through it, rather than trying to learn through your own experiences when you have that at hand for you. But I also do want to thank you both for coming out video. Like, obviously, just like putting aside the time to actually come out for the video and everything. I know it's like a bit of a time constraint, but again, I really just want to thank you for giving me your time for this video.
Yeah, it was
Appreciate it.
it was our pleasure, and you know what? Like again, we said our whole scope is about building better lives, and anytime we can do anything to give people some nuggets along the way,
Mhm.
that's rewarding to us too.
Yes, yes. And thanks for the invitation.
Of
It's an honor to
course,
be here to
yeah,
share with you.
yeah. Yeah, so I just had to transition to my phone now. It's a little bit, I didn't think of it actually ending off like this, but I just had to make it what I work with. But like I said, I want to just thank you both a whole lot for coming out for this video and everything. I know it's definitely, like I said, definitely a bit of a time constraint, definitely a bit of just like working around myself. But again, like, I was more than welcome to send out the invite for the video, of course, before everything, because I know, like I said, you both would bring perspective that I know would like just be more than helpful for bringing on to the video and everything. So like I said, I know me, myself, and for whoever will watch this video, would more than be thankful for everything, for all the perspective that he brought for everything in this video.
Yeah,
All right. We appreciate,
but
yeah,
yeah,
appreciate that.
we appreciate you
Yeah.
too. So,
Yes.
yeah, and kudos for you doing something like this, because everybody has the opportunity to share in their own spaces.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I say in every single video, how I always end it off is whether just always remember for the next few videos that we're having, just know for everyone that's watching this, just we have future videos coming out. You know, I have a video coming out this week where we're gonna actually be having more of like just a fun day, just having fun with the videos and everything, but it's gonna be on some relationship stuff. So definitely tune in for that. You'll definitely see me post that video. And obviously, as per usual, tapping with the last few videos, because obviously this video is coming out right after we had our video about men's relationships from men's relationship, how men are from a women's perspective in a relationship, and one of our other videos from how women are from a men's perspective in a relationship. So definitely go into those videos, look into what we did with them. There's some real good content I feel like y'all would enjoy. But as for usual, always remember, whether you're young or old, whether you're black or white, whether you're weird or weirder, just know that this is Minds Zoomers. This is a place for you. This is your home away from home. This is a safe space for you, you know? And especially with relationships coming on and with, February just ending, hope you may be in a relationship right now, whether it be for better or for worse. You might be in one right now after Valentine's Day. So, hopefully this video gave you something of substance, especially with all the stuff that's going on in today's world. Hopefully it gave you something of substance to like help you be prepared for making it to that higher level in a relationship and recognize whether it is or isn't for you. So hopefully everyone has a good day, and I'll see y'all in this video. Yeah,